Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them, and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story, The Drone Saga, an intrusive flyer's encounter with trespass notices. The second story, Quitting in Style, how I used my employee discount to make a bold exit. The third story, Overcoming the HOA, a battle for property rights and justice. The first story is The Drone Guy and His Family. I work as the engineering manager at our local Milton Flowers hostelry. The original event happened in late June and early July, and we've had Drone Guy resurgences every few weeks since. The cast is as follows. DG is Drone Guy. BG is Brother's Girlfriend. SG is Slurpy Gal. You should be able to figure out the rest. With staffing shortages, I've been working 2 3 to 11 MOD shifts a week for about a year now. This happened on one of those nights. It was about 10:50, and I was at the front desk talking with FDA, waiting for NA to arrive so I could go home. Had a turnaround, was back at 7 a.m. This meth head looking guy walks in the door. Why aren't those locked yet anyway? And strolls to the front desk. DG, yeah, do you have a ladder I can use? I got my drone stuck on your building. FDA, excuse me, what? DG, I was flying my drone around your building, hit it, and now it's stuck up there on the ledge beneath the windows. Me, unfortunately, we do not have a ladder tall enough to reach that ledge, and setting one up on the sidewalk would require a permit from the city to close the sidewalk. Additionally, why were you flying a drone around my building? DG, my brother's in room 409, and he isn't answering his cell or the room phone, so I flew my drone up there, but the blinds are closed. FDA, okay, that's a massive breach of privacy, and I need you to leave property immediately, or I will be contacting the police. DG, let me talk to your manager. Me, right here. You can leave now, or I will have you trespassed from property. DG, fine, I'll just go buy a 20-foot ladder and be back in the morning. Or I'll call the fire department and have them get it for me. As he's walking out of the door. Me, no, you won't. If you return to my property, I'll call the police. I shout behind him as he goes. I went and grabbed a picture of him from our cameras and sent it out property-wide to contact the police if he was seen again. I spent probably 45 minutes doing that and was finally pulling out of the garage when I see a few police cars pulled up in front of the building, with my FDA and NA standing in the lobby with the cops, DG and BG. I park the truck and mosey over. Cop after identifying myself as MOD to DG. How'd you get into the building? DG, she let me in. Pointing to BG. BG, no I didn't. I came down with you to make sure you left. DG, unrecognizable Cthulhu-esque noises. Cop to me. Well, we can let him go or trespass him. Me, trespass him. Looking at DG. I wouldn't want him to think I'm a liar or anything. So after talking to my FDA, turns out he followed a guest into the garage, who rightfully freaked out, came back out of the garage and told the front desk. He then went and banged on his brother's door. 2 days later, why don't people tell us sooner? The guests in 211 told us during checkout that there was a drone stuck in front of their window, and that it had scared them because they thought someone was looking through their window. So I break out the 15-foot ladder and a water-fed pole I used to clean the glass awnings, and was able to sweep the drone down before the city yelled at me for the ladder, and I put it in Lost and Found. Fast forward 2 weeks and the AGM takes a phone call. Guess who? DG. Hey, so I went and bought a new drone, was flying around the building, and I saw that my drone is gone. I want it back. AGM. Is this DG? Well, we were able to remove it, but you're not allowed to come onto property to get it. Someone else will have to. Also, flying your new drone around our building does constitute breaking your trespass notice, so if you do show up, I will have you arrested. DG. Fine, whatever, I'll send a friend to pick it up. And he slams the phone down. A few days later, he did call back, told us who we could give the drone to, they arrived and no issues were had. However, last week we have a gal walk in. She was wearing a tank top with spaghetti straps, booty shorts, and drinking a 7-Eleven Slurpee. The AGM asks how she can help. She demands to speak with the manager. GM has already left for the day, so AGM spoke with her. SG, yeah, I'm Slurpy Gal from the CDC. I'm here investing a hate crime committed by this hotel against DG. AGM, Well, due to company policy, I'm not allowed to provide details of any incidents involving guests of our hotel to anyone without proper police or government identification, as well as a case number or tie to the request. SG. Well, I don't have a business card on me, but I guess I'll just have to have my boss call you. SG proceeded to walk out the back door, around the building, and we watched her meet with DG in the parking lot kitty corner to the hotel. She was shaking her head and he looked really upset. I've since learned that DG has since tried to book a room using false names. He spent about 12 plus hours standing on the corner across from the hotel, and the local police are quite familiar with him. BG and the brother checked out a week after the initial incident. They told the front desk at checkout that they were in town visiting their DG and brother's parents, and the parents told DG to stop coming to their house after this all happened. Guess he had been on the ropes with them beforehand, and this finally snapped the final thread. Edit. AGM contacted the responding officer, at least after the second flyover and Slurpee gal I know. I've pretty much been a spectator since the original event, as the officer came in and spoke with the GM, AGM, and myself the next day. AGM has been handling most communication, as she spends more time at the front desk than myself or the GM. The second story is the time I quit my job after taking full advantage of my employee discount. I was talking with my coworker earlier this week about handling bad work situations, and we discussed toxic work environments from past jobs. It reminded me of this incident, and it was also my first step into wanting work reform and ensuring my personal rights as an employee and a human being. About 2 years ago, I worked in a plus-size clothing store. I was hired on at $10 an hour as a pseudo supervisor. They gave me a key to open and close shop, had me handling cash drawers, the vault, and deposits and withdrawals, but didn't give me the title so that they could avoid paying me more. I was struggling to find work due to losing my job at the beginning of the year, and we really needed the money, so I accepted it as it was. First impressions were generally okay. The manager was alright, smiling and nice. The supervisors were kind and communicative. The place honestly seemed chill and open and friendly, but I only managed to work here for 2 months before the incident. As time went on, I noticed little things that grew into bigger things as they became more comfortable with me there. The manager would talk poorly about her subordinates and how they were teenagers with attitude and laziness issues and no respect for their elders, but then act like the brightest ray of sunshine when they were working a shift with us. Supervisors would pass the responsibility of finding coverage onto the people who couldn't make their shift due to school or illness or whatever. I did my best to try and suggest how to do things for those type of situations where we could easily take care of it, but I hadn't been there long enough to have weight to my opinions and was brushed off. We had an employee meeting one day where everyone was required to come in on a day off for 2 hours, and she originally tried to make it unpaid. Myself and another supervisor pointed out that was illegal, and that they're required to be compensated for company-related tasks and requirements. She begrudgingly let everyone clock in before the meeting and went through her list of grievances about attendance, attitude, and disrespect, which as you can imagine was great for morale. I mean, no one was allowed to talk while she ranted for the better part of an hour about how tired she is of picking up after everyone and covering for their shortcomings. She even included how we were trying to undermine her for having everyone clocked in before. It was awkward and so incredibly inappropriate and unnecessary. That was about the time I started looking elsewhere for work again, and things escalated from there. One day I had made plans with my friends to do an online hangout, and put on the calendar that I wouldn't be available on a day I normally open. I did this 2 weeks in advance and even left a reminder note the night before I would be out. Manager and supervisors acknowledged it on the calendar. I do the thing. I come back on my next scheduled day and the manager is acting extra bright and sunny as I walk in for opening. As soon as I finished clocking in, she put herself uncomfortably close to me and started yelling at me, asking why I thought it was okay to no-call, no-show, to walk in and smile at her like I'm asking for trouble, how inconsiderate it was of me to not tell anyone, etc., etc. I'm stunned, and she's backed me into a corner behind the registers to do this, so I have no way to escape. When she finally let me get a word in, I apologized and said it won't happen again. Asked her if I could take my paid 15 now so that we could calm down before work started. Luckily, she agreed. I'm extremely non-confrontational and have severe anxiety, so I was crying and shaking at the end of it. Originally, I really had planned to take my break and get on with the day. I don't know what inspired me to do this, but I'm glad I did it. Now, one of the perks of working for this company was getting 50% of any clothing in the store. It didn't apply to clearance, but literally everything else I could get at half price. And since I was hoping to start a new job, I really needed some nicer clothes to ensure I looked the part. So I spent my paid 15 grabbing any tops, pants, or cardigans, or dresses and shoes and jackets that I knew would fit me. I had about 20 or so items by the time I was done. brought them over to my manager's register, checked out, and when she handed me my receipt, I handed over my keys and name tag and wished her a good day. I don't know if she tried to say anything or what, but I rushed out of there like no one's business and sat in my car to cry a little more, before I realized how good it felt to do that. And I hadn't done anything wrong. All I did was use my discount while I was still an employee with the company. She did withhold my last paycheck as revenge, but I think it was only like $90, and trying to reach the HR hotline was a nightmare. I wish I had been more insistent on getting that paycheck at the time, but like I said, I'm not a confrontational person, and avoided further action for fear of backlash. As far as I know, she no longer works there, and last time I was in, only one employee from when I was working there is still present. The third story is, had quite the battle with HOA and successfully defended my rights and property against an overzealous agent. I had to go up against a bunch of effing knot-headed morons on my HOA board. They brought some half-A landscaping company in and they proceeded to shear literally half our trees, which was part of the de-landscaping. I was peeved. I also got into it with them about replacing the effing windows in their special assessment. Never again. I believe I mentioned to you that my wife and I shut this entire effing show down when some real turd agent, in hawk up to his ears, bankrupted driving a leased BMW, typical a-hole, threatened to put a lien on our home over his self-proclaimed HOA landscaping dues to keep up, in his exact words, our beautiful sign. The developer really effed up the subdivision. Paperwork was filed for an HOA with the Register of Dirty Deeds, but the filing was materially defective and dead on arrival. It was also drafted by a third-tier toilet attorney who had no clue what he was doing. There are no common areas in our home subdivision, and the area that this bee wanted to charge everyone for was not even on a separate lot. It's literally part and parcel of the lot that a house is on, so it isn't even anyone's issue to begin with. But this is what happens when you get an F like him, who gets full of himself and thinks he can be a swinging D. We firebombed the entire subdivision with his threats and a whole host of other material that left a smoking crater when his Faraday threatened us in writing. After dragging his punk A out into the light of day and giving him a beatdown the likes of which he had never had in his life, the whole thing just kinda disintegrated like a wet paper bag. He filed bankruptcy. His precious effing BMW was repossessed. His second wife, yes second, divorced him and moved out of the sub. Since then, he assaulted his third wife. How's this guy find them? For which he was arrested, and she has now divorced him. I've reveled in his misery for what he did. Besides near ruining my marriage with the stress of his psychotic BS, I also had to shell out for lowlier fees to prove we had no obligation to any HOA. I should add that when he presented his demand for payment to his non-existent HOA, we immediately sent out letters to the entire subdivision disclaiming any debts to him. This F-head was so stupid he just had to persist with it. He paid dearly for it and I should have sued him personally, but we didn't have the money to do so. To this day, we have no HOA, and there never will be one because there's no common property here. Plus, I have a nice, shiny, and expensive letter from a tall building lawyer that says we have no obligation here. ETA. Because of that, aside from the basic CCRs and city codes, we're basically free to do whatever the F we want. If we want light blue siding with a white roof, ain't no one can stop us. Let this be a lesson to everyone. Just because people look average and somewhat not bright, I'm a software architect and engineer. My wife used to do swing trading and could lock 2 and 3K gains in a matter of days with her trading system. Don't ever assume they're slow, stupid, or poor as church mice, or as vicious as a honey badger. Many people have made that mistake with us and paid a heavy price for their sheer stupidity. Hope you enjoyed these stories. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.